Hello everyone, it's Leon here, and I am with
Meeks,
who has completed and reviewed the Last of Us. I just want to point out before we go any further, this is a completely sort of spoiler-free review. I'm only using old footage, stuff we've seen before, footage from the demo. We're not going to sort of spoil any of the plot points. I've only played a little bit of it, but hopefully this won't ruin anything. We're just going to sort of talk about why you gave it. Well, what score did you give it?
I give it a 10 out of 10 and a gold award.
So basically the biggest scores we have.
Yes, yeah, the biggest scores we have to kind of, I suppose, slide it next to and compare it to like PS3's other big hitters. I say in the review, I think it's a better game than any of the Uncharted. Something that I do not say lightly, or like something that we certainly don't print lightly in the magazine or on the website, just because we have Uncharted 2 currently sitting at the top of our PS3 Hall of Fame, and the last two Uncharted games have been incredible. But as a work of storytelling, and really showing how I don't think any of us had quite grasped how versatile a storyteller that Naughty Dog could be. It's incredible for a first shot at a new IP and a new universe that we've never seen before. It's unbelievably confident. It's we always expect sky high production values, but like the level of care and detail and believability that's gone into crafting this post-apocalyptic world is sensational. Like the level of scripting and how confident the characters are, and the story beats and the pacing are just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I mean, I've played like only the first 2 hours or so, but again, without spoilers, I think like the opening has had more impact on me, I think, like you say, in terms of storytelling and just presentation and skill than anything I think I played on PS3.
Yeah, I mean, without going into specifics, I mean, we all remember Naughty Dog for that incredible Uncharted 2 train opening.
It's nothing like that, but it's
nothing
just,
like that.
It's that ability to just grab you straight away,
absolutely,
and then you're hooked.
I said in the review, it's essentially the most effective scene setter I've ever played in the game. It's like the most kind of stark statement of intent. I completely stand by that. It's just an incredibly good build-up in terms of introducing you to this world and the characters. Okay,
well, let's go into a little bit of the backstory here. Let's explain. We're seeing Joel, Ellie and Tess, who are three of the main characters, exploring kind of a ruined post-apocalyptic city here. Just sort of set up, what has happened, how have we got here, just in case anyone's not been...
So there's essentially been a global pandemic, which has originated from a strange fungus, where the world's essentially gone a bit iRobot 28 days later, and you have a large proportion of America and the rest of the globe are now brainless, infected style zombies who will, attack and try and kill you.
It's very 28 days later, isn't it? They just attack and eat.
They are. I mean, you get you do get a kind of mix of them. You do kind of get your 28 days later sprinter ones who just scream and go for your throat, and then you get clickers who are, we'll probably talk about a bit later.
Yeah, we'll see those in a little while.
More almost informed by kind of Half-Life's head crab zombies, but yeah, the setting. So you're essentially, this is 20 years after the initial outbreak, and the world's kind of broken into quarantine zones, and everything's gone a bit like the road, and you'll hear like it's your kind of classic post-apocalyptic road movie, really.
Yeah, and this is like the final stage of the clickers, when they sort of turn into like four fruiting bodies.
Yeah, there are like different levels of decomposition the longer the longer people are infected.
Joel was alive before it broke out.
Yes.
He's aware of the past, whereas Ellie she's 14, is it?
Yeah, she's 14, so she
knows nothing but
she's
this
only
world.
ever known the world of quarantine zones. She's grown up in a quarantine camp, and so the two characters' outlook in life is completely different. Like, you see in this Bill's town level that you come across an ice cream van, and she doesn't know what an ice cream van is because she's never seen one as a child, and just loads of like touching small moments where she's really seen nothing of the world at all. Yeah, she says just saying, I've never seen trees, and earlier on when she sees the skyscrapers, she can't get over how tall they are. So she's at the same time she seems to be quite sort of world weary because she's grown up in this incredible she swears like an absolute sailor.
But at the same time she sees the tiniest thing. Like later on, I don't think I've got the footage here, but later on she sees fireflies, and she just sort of gets really excited.
I mean, she's a beautifully drawn character. I mean, the parallels are certainly there with Booker and Elizabeth. I mean, they are PlayStation's power couple of this year, but I'd say the level of scripting and the relationship between Joe and Ellie's even beyond that. I thought it was a beautifully drawn relationship.
And the relationship is that there's a resistance group called the Fireflies, who are sort of like an anti kind of... There's a government still in place, and the Fireflies are anti them, and they task Joel and Tess with getting Ellie to somewhere. She has to just they have to smuggle. They're smugglers.
Yeah.
They're black marketeers in this post-apocalyptic world, and Ellie is essentially their cargo. And they leave the safety of this sort of enclave, this sort of quarantined area, and they head out into the abandoned city where we find things like this. So you find clickers, you find there's a lot of human enemies as well.
Yeah, so I guess we should talk about combat. It's not anything like Uncharted. If you're going in this expecting to go pop, 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 bang, 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 headshot, 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 it just doesn't work like that. I mean, it's every design decision in this is very conscious to ramp up tension like as effectively as possible. And I mean, I said in review, it's a game more essentially influenced by survival horror than it is a traditional cover shooter. Yeah. So in that sense, when we see Joel aiming now, guns don't control as comfortably as a traditional third-person shooter. So there is a bit of there's a bit of sway to them when you're aiming them. It's not very easy to line up headshots. They buck wildly when fired, and that's all to kind of set up the fact that you can't just abuse them. You really have to live in your instincts and your wits and balance kind of controlled aggression with your firearms, with really surveying the environment carefully, and breaking line of sight and sneaking up and maybe shivving people in the neck or strangling. So it's more of a stealth game than it is a shooter, but it really does combine the two really effectively. The closest I can think to compare it to is something like a Splinter Cell, which unfortunately we didn't like the last Splinter Cell, which actually didn't appear in PlayStation, but it's all about breaking line of sight, so going in hard for a few seconds, maybe taking a guy out with a shot, then the enemies will track your last known location, and then you'll be in an entirely different part of the environment. So as long as you keep moving and surveying you can really hunt and stalk your enemies, and it almost reminds me of Manhunt in a way like that. So.
Yeah, the AI is very sort of satisfyingly kind of manipulatable, isn't it? Where you can run around
absolutely.
And they lose sight of you, and then you're back very quickly and easily back to stealth.
It took me a little bit of time to get used to, because I'm so obsessive when it comes to stealth, playing Metal Gear for all these years. I feel like it's a failure if you get seen, but that's not the case at all. The game really blossomed for me when I realised that it's all about adapting to when you get seen. So it's not end of game when you get seen, it's more about, okay, I'll break line of sight, I'll get in a cover, I'll get in a new position, I'll outflank them again, I'll sneak up on them, and it's all about the ebb and flow of combat, which is certainly in the last 3 or 4 hours of the game is super, super satisfying.
And I think it's going to be a bit of a surprise to some people, because if they go into it how they expect to play a game, like you say, it's about being adaptive, it's about rolling with the blows, it's about thinking on your feet, and if you do go into it thinking, I'm just going to cover shoot these people, stealth that guy, you get massacred.
Absolutely.
Like the first few times I played it in some of the earlier demos, it was just death screen like every 5 minutes, until you realise that you have to really play the game, or play its game, if you like.
Another thing I love about it is when killing in games is so very disposable. The Last of Us goes out of its way to really make every death really almost cloyingly intimate, where when you strangle a man, the animation, it takes 10 seconds, you really do choke and see every last gasp of air come out of him
brilliantly as well on 2 fronts. I really messed this bit up. It does it brilliantly on 2 fronts, because you've got so little ammo, you're sort of forced to consider whether or not you want to attack anyone even stealthily and then risk a shootout. But then also, like you say, if you do stab someone or you hit them with a brick or you do anything at all, it's really sort of harshly violent. I'm really trying to avoid saying anything like brutal or anything like that, but it is like the first time you hit someone in the face with a brick, it's almost like, oh god, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's really stark, but it's all within the service of the story. None of it's gratuitous for the sake of just being gratuitous. It really does help sell this really bleak world where everyone's out to just survive, and anyone will stamp on each other's necks just to
make a living,
feed their family or get food, or so.
And it's terrifying as well. I mean, we're seeing me getting my ass handed to me here.
Yeah, this is not the way.
But we can see how you can run away, you can lose them. But what amazes me is that if you do sort of mess up, and you get a few runners on you, you have to run away, because it's the only way you can clear some space. But it's so easy for it almost overpowers you, and suddenly you do that sort of thing sometimes when you play a game, you sort of forget what the buttons do, and you go, how do my hands work?
It's really good at doing that. I mean, I lost my shizzle at more than one point throughout this game, especially if you're playing with headphones or a good surround sound system. The sensory experience is
the sound
so uncomfortable. I mean, it's a masterclass in sound design. I think it's probably, in terms of sound effects, the best game I've played.
One of the most stressful things I think I've encountered is hiding behind a desk with a clicker, and they can't see, they can only use sound location, but so they're standing like on the other side of the thing you're hiding behind, and they'll be clicking, and you know you're safe, but the clicking and the barking and the whistling and the whoops, and you just it starts to break you down. And
absolutely.
We saw some of the crafting there. We saw a little bit of it earlier. Like, I mean, this is the thing. There's resources of things like blades, tape, alcohol, rags, and you create things to heal yourself or to attack. But there's an interesting kind of interplay here as well, where a shiv can kill, or it can open a door. So you then, you're also then having to weigh up: do I want to risk an attack? Do I want to save this device for a later use? Now, you've also had hands-on with the multiplayer.
Yes.
Which, weirdly, they've kept, like, super top secret. Can you just sort of quickly just sum up, what it is, how it works, what you sort of thought of it?
So it's not the crowbarred in afterthought you might think it is. It's called Factions. It's split into 2 different match types. You have Supply Raid, and you also have Survivors. And essentially it's 4-on-4 team deathmatch, with the twist being you have a finite number of lives. So in Supply Raid, each team has got 20 lives each, and one team wins when their team's lives are essentially wiped out. And in Survivors, it's a round-based system where there aren't any respawns, so as soon as you die, that's it for the round. So it really captures the sensibility of having to survive that the single player really emphasises very well. So it does feel it feels very in keeping with the world. It also has an almost kind of quasi meta game on the top of that, where you can essentially gain survivors by collecting supplies and food when you're in games. So essentially, the more supplies you collect, the more consumables you collect from chests dotted around maps, the more survivors you'll be shown in essentially menus between games. Okay. So there is it doesn't really. Also, this is tied into the unlock system. So the more survivors you have, the quicker you unlock weapons and new perks and things like that. So
more than a straightforward deathmatch.
Yeah, it does have some tactical nice. And you certainly can't play it like a straightforward deathmatch. Guns do handle more nipply than in single player, but it's got a very unique flavour. Most didn't. Something we're seeing here is Naughty Dog has excelled at this, especially with the last 2 Uncharted games. That they're so good at ambient exploration, and what they do really cleverly in service to the plot is just getting a lot of the exposition just out very naturally in interactions between characters, rather than say, here's a 30-minute cutscene, sit down and passively watch. You always feel like you're in control through most of the story, and like the pacing. I spoke to Bruce Straley, who's one of the game directors. He said the first thing Naughty Dog always focus on is pacing. So it's balancing the gunplay with these quieter moments where you really get to know the characters and really get to. It's just that gentle exploration where you get to really experience this world. Naughty Dog are so good at world building, just essentially going through these places that you almost want to treat like interactive museums. You just want to pan the camera around and let the camera focus on things, because it's a glorious world. I mean,
you just explore, don't you? I found myself walking up to notice boards and pictures on the wall just because I wanted to see it all. I didn't want to miss a thing.
And all I will say, without spoiling anything, is if you think you've got the gist of the game by what you've seen from the demo footage, you could not be more wrong. It will really surprise you in terms. So
cool. So 10 out of 10, Gold Award, possibly the most impressive game.
I'd say it's easily in the top 3 games in PS3, and I'd be surprised if there's a better game in PS3 this year.
Shit, you're gonna go in there?
I want to see what we can find.
You're gonna find my body when I die from a heart attack.
Don't worry. I got this.